Well, I want to give some props here. If you've been paying attention at all to the way that the media has covered a bill in Florida, which is designed to ensure that kindergartners, first graders, second graders, and third graders effectively are not exposed to sex-related education, right? So you're not going to hear about heterosexual sex. You're not going to hear about gay sex. You're not going to hear about transgenderism. You're not going to hear about any of that, which I think most parents think is appropriate for 5-year-old to 8-year-old kids, roughly. I've got a first grader. I don't think that he needs to be figuring out how the birds and the bees work in first grade school. I don't think we need to have a deep analysis of heterosexuality versus homosexuality versus transgender, all these different things. To me, as a parent of a public school kid, it seems appropriate that that is not topically accurate for young kids. So this has turned into the way that the mainstream media has covered it, the Don't Say Gay bill. And so you've got all different sorts of politicians running around screaming the word gay, which is supposedly being prohibited from classrooms. Of course, not true. It's actually just designed to ensure that kids are learning age-appropriate lessons. So Disney, which is based in many ways in Florida. Many of you listening probably have been to Disney World. Certainly a lot of you listening have had your kids watch Disney-related programming. Probably a lot of you are Disney Plus subscribers. All of those things true for me. Disney has a new CEO. His name's Bob Chapek. And so far, he has not been as politically active as Bob Iger, who was the former CEO of Disney and wanted to be the president of the United States. Bob Iger still might run for president of the United States at some point, and he, as a result, embraced many parts of left-wing ideology. For instance, when Jamel Hill, formerly of ESPN, called the president of the United States, Donald Trump, a white supremacist, he didn't do anything, didn't care, probably agreed with her. And Bob Chapek has tried, the new CEO, has tried to stay out of the political fray. But there were so many left-wing activists that were fired up about this bill that finally Disney issued a statement and ripped the state of Florida for passing this new bill. And here's the deal. Lots of people out there who are politicians would avoid this conflict and would pretend that it didn't happen and would let Disney tee off on the people of Florida and would not fire back. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis was not going to stand for that. So yesterday, in an event in Boca Raton, he specifically said, I'm not going to let Disney take shots at us. Listen to this small segment of a couple of minutes of comments that he made on this issue.
First graders shouldn't have woke gender ideology imposed in their curriculums, and that is what we're standing for, because we're standing for the kids and we're standing for the parents. And I can tell you this, the chance that I am going to back down from my commitment to students and back down from my commitment to parents' rights simply because of fraudulent media narratives or pressure from woke corporations, the chances of that are zero.
That's the way you got to do it, Clay.
It is.
So he's right. He's right on the facts here. But as we know, if you're a conservative and you become someone who's out there, whether it's fighting in public or even just having a debate with someone in your day-to-day life, being right on the facts isn't enough. You actually have to be willing to take the fight, so to speak, to the other side a little bit. Say, no, I'm sorry. We're not going to live in this fantasy world that you're trying to create. You can't say a bill bans a word or bans conversation that it flatly does not. You can't do that. And I'm not going to let you do that. Ron DeSantis terrifies libs. Whatever one thinks about his future aspirations or not, it doesn't matter, because showing a state that is run well and that is attracting people from all over the country by the hundreds of thousands. Just we have the equivalent now of people, of Americans moving to Florida. A lot of people I know moving to Texas. A lot of people I know moving to I always want to say Nashville, to Tennessee.
Yeah.
I mean, Nashville too. But this is the federalism that we have at work, and Ron DeSantis is always putting on a clinic not only for how to run a state well so that people want to come there. Right? It's not easy to leave where you live. I live in New York City. It's not the most straightforward thing. You might have family, your job, your roots, your town. People are saying, I'm done. I'm leaving California. I'm leaving New Jersey. I'm moving down to Florida, Texas, and these other states. But beyond that, DeSantis also shows that you have to be firm. You have to be strong when you hold the line against, let's just call it the fake news. I mean, you have to be willing to do that, because look what they were able to do in last week, Clay. The entire media apparatus was somehow running around saying the "Don't Say Gay" bill. I mean, this would be like if they walk around saying, the Biden Saves America bill instead of the, big spending bill, the Build Back Better agenda. I mean, they're not supposed to engage in that kind of obvious propaganda. Ron DeSantis is throwing a haymaker here.
Well, plus it's Disney. And I hate this. I really, genuinely hate the idea, because I'm talking about taking my kids to Disney World because I like Disney World, because kids like Disney World, right? Kids, by and large, enjoy going to amusement parks. I don't enjoy the idea that I have to contemplate whether I want to spend money on something that I know my kids would like because Disney is deciding to embrace this woke apparatus of political agenda. And so what I wish were happening is that we were in a situation where Disney would just say, what I wrote my most recent book on, Buck, Republicans Buy Sneakers Too, we're in the business of appealing to kids everywhere. And so we're not going to get drawn in to every single fake political story. But when they do, and they did, I absolutely love that Ron DeSantis came back with a haymaker. Because what? Disney's not leaving Florida. They're not going to relocate.
I canceled my Disney Plus subscription, Clay, because of the Gina Carano thing.
The Mandalorian mess.
I love the Mandalorian series. The first season was great. The second season kind of went off the rails a little bit. But the point is, I had a Disney Plus. Well, my family had a Disney Plus subscription. Let's put it that way. And we canceled it when the Gina Carano thing happened because it was just so.
And you hated having to do that, right? That you had to make a choice on politics when you might otherwise like some content, right? It's stupid. The same thing happening in sports, where I feel like every day I'm throwing punches in this culture war that we're in. And I just wish they would say, hey, you know what? You like basketball, you can watch basketball. You like football, you can watch football. It's not the world we live in right now.
I mean, for me, and we make a lot of jokes about how I'm not a big professional sports fan. I kind of used to be. I've gotten much less so as I've gotten older. And for me, football is a good enough product that, I go, well, I kind of like to watch it sometimes. NBA, I grew up, I had an uncle with season tickets to the Knicks, so I used to go on a regular basis, Madison Square Garden. I know those Knicks players still
back
by
in
name.
The Patrick Ewing days, you were there.
Patrick Ewing, Trent Tucker, John Starks. I mean, I could go down the whole list. The Bomb Squad, Anthony Mason, not Dominique Wilkins, Gerald Wilkins. I remember I used to see these guys all the time. I went to tons of games. Now it's just the NBA. I was watching. I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm just done. I'm just not going to do this anymore. And I wish that wasn't the case. And I wish more people, quite honestly, would see this as damaging to their business interests. But, look, I mean, Colin Kaepernick, I was asking you about it before the show today. Suddenly he's in the best shape of his life, a better QB now than he's ever been. This is like 5
years in a row that Colin Kaepernick's been in the best shape of his life, and he wants to play in the NFL. But, Buck, it was just like 5 months ago that he had a Netflix documentary special where I think we pulled some cuts. I believe we played on the show.
I Am Colin? Is that what it was called? Is that right?
I didn't watch any of it except for the clips that I saw. But he compared the NFL draft to a slave auction. I mean, that was a huge part. You remember? I think we played that on the show, and it shows, like, literally the video shows guys. And look, if you're not paying attention, the NFL Combine just happened. Everybody walks around in, basically underwear. You height, your weight, your arm length, like basically every single thing about you, they analyze in an effort to determine whether or not to pay you millions of dollars to play football. And so Colin Kaepernick, in his documentary that Netflix theoretically paid millions of dollars to him for, they take those guys walking around shirtless, getting measured, and turn it into a slave auction. So they move from you're an NFL head coach looking at the different possible guys that you're going to pay millions of dollars to you're at a slave auction and you're bidding on slaves standing on a stage.
Comparing to people who are dehumanized and treated as property and threatened with the constant possibility of extreme physical abuse and death to multimillionaire celebrities who everybody wants to be like and be near and have them sign. That is
making the voluntary choice to play football,
completely insane.
Yes.
I mean, it is about as, you're picking the most, you're picking being among the most privileged and blessed people in the freest, best country in the world right now, and comparing it to a situation of human beings being treated as property, as subhuman.
And
completely insane.
What's wild about it, in addition to the insanity, is Buck, he's now trying to become a slave again, right? I mean, so he has gone from saying the NFL treats everybody like slaves, you are effectively a slave, to begging and training for the opportunity to be a slave again. So what is it? I can't even keep up with him. Are athletes still slaves, or is it an aspirational goal to be a NFL player? Like, the answer is it's the second, but he's not even intelligent enough to have been able to put forward a consistent position on this.
And just circling back to the corporate wokeness thing for a second, NFL, obviously, this counts as well there. But when you're talking about Disney, here's the problem we have to face. The woke left is mobilized and activated and makes demands and puts pressure on these places all the time. I think conservatives, just by nature of how we view the world, and we have a more individual and liberty and live and let live attitude to things, are less likely to do this stuff. But we if we allow this to continue, they continue to dominate corporate America is what ends up happening.
Well,
they get their way. And so this is why I say, we either do something about it or we just keep complaining about it.
Well, I think what you have to do at a minimum is show that there's consequences for taking statements and making statements like these. And a lot of Republicans just pretend it doesn't exist. Politicians. I like the fact that Ron DeSantis fired back, because you need to know that this is not a situation where you can just bow down and genuflect at the altar of the woke and there's not going to be consequences on the other side when you do that. And I appreciate DeSantis throwing punches.
This is like when Amazon Web Services kicked Parler, the free speech social media platform, off of, effectively de-interneted it. I knew so many people were like, that's horrible. It's like, but I love getting those Amazon packages. It's like, okay.
Yeah, right.
They know that. And that is why they can do that, because they know that you're not going to stop.